speakers already gave me a shout out, which was so sweet of them. So thank you very much. I'm an architect and urban planner. Among the missing middle typologies that we focus on major streets, I have a lot to say about plexes and if it's right or not for the city. Not today, but please come and talk to me if you are interested. Disclaimer, whatever, don't sue me. Okay, so we already talked about Eon. And Blair covered that in the morning because we had several things and steps that led us to major streets. And I'm going to talk about major streets, okay? So, but I want you to understand the timeline, and that was among everything that fell under the missing middle or Eon, in my opinion, was the most significant and what the city actually needs, because big parts of the city already operates as illegal triplexes, and yet we are in this severe crisis. Of course, the city will not admit it because they don't have the data because it's illegal. So I believe that major streets is the type of development that we need in the city. So I have good news and I have bad news. The good news that since I was here a year ago, major streets were approved by council, which is great. Great news. Thank you for city staff and everyone who were involved. The bad news that it was appealed. It was appealed by one property owner that I believe, I do not follow the appeal too closely. The next hearing date should be November 3rd. So for now, I just advise my clients to just wait until November. The opportunity to scope out one property exists. I believe Chris is doing it right now, but generally speaking, my advice is just wait until November or go ahead and just purchase properties in the meantime. So which properties you should purchase or which one you should look after, this is what I'm going to focus on today. So why Eon? Blair already covered that. We're talking about expanding housing options in neighborhoods. So neighborhoods, it's the yellow. So anything, if you're talking about properties on Blue or College or Dundas, it's not relevant because it's not yellow, it's pink, it's mixed use. Here we're talking only yellow, whatever is designated neighborhoods in the official plan. So in fact, there are three boxes that you need to check. The three boxes are very simple. One, designated neighborhoods in the land use map of the official plan. The second one, zoned residential. It could be any of the RD, RT, RM, and R, but it has to be zoned residential. And the third one, it needs to be on a major street. Major street is map 3 on the right side. Sorry, left side. You're right. And it needs to be on a major street, okay? So there are many smaller streets in neighborhoods that will not allow the major streets typology. So you need to have 3 boxes. You need to check all 3. So for example, I had a church. They came to me and they said, we are sitting on a major street, we're a designated neighborhood, but because it's a church, their zoning is institutional. So is it gonna be as of right? No, thank you. So I just want, for the disclaimer, the city did produce a map. I know there are people from the city here. It's how could you produce something that is so opposite of user-friendly? It has no street names, you can't zoom in, super hard to follow. But I do want to let you know that the city did create this map of those brown properties, that they basically took everything and excluded a lot of other properties with secondary plans and stuff. Me personally, don't use this map. I go and I check those 3 boxes every time. Is it designated neighborhoods? Is it zoned residential, and is it on major streets, okay? And what is it the major street? What does it actually allow? Up to 6 stories, 60 units, which is what Councillor Bradford covered and Chris in the morning. So there is this cap, I should say 6 stories, also 19 meters in height. But this is the realm of what we're talking about. 2 more things that I want you to know. When you're talking about 60 units, anything above 20 units, you must comply with the growing up design guidelines. In these guidelines, you will see that there's also percentage of larger units in the building and their sizes. So far, what we've been seeing, that the city is kind of flexible on the size of the units, but they are very not flexible on achieving the 15% 2 bedrooms and 10% 3 bedrooms, okay? So you need to make sure that you take this into account in your pro forma. Amenity space, if you are coming from the larger development, you know that it kicks in on 20 units. Here on Major Street, it only kicks in after 30 units, but there are still requirements, and it goes by per unit. There's a square meter that you need to provide every per unit in your project. So now I want to really give you the tools. If you know me, you know I'm a big believer in anything that is like giving you the fishing rod, and I want you to give you the tools to take it as far as possible on your own, in a very low tech, like the person before me did. It was a very interesting presentation. You know, some things could be low tech, and you will still be okay with that. So let's do it. I'll go through very, very fast, but there's 6 points, okay? So first of all, no FSI limit. So that was a kind of a debate when the city approved multiplexes. Here, they already, like, from the get-go, didn't ask for any FSI limit. The building dimension is limited to 25 meters in depth, with 7.5 meter rear setback. That is across the city. If you're working across the city, you know that it's any property requires that rear setback. And then for the side setback, there are few conditions. It's either 3 meter, 2.4, or 1.8, and it depends. I don't want to get into too much of the technical details, but if you want to catch me, I'll be more than happy to explain exactly. But these are related to how your property is zoned, but either way, these are the options, okay? So it's not like endless options. These are the 3 options. And the front setback, it is dependent on how deep your site is, okay? So if you want, sorry, one more, and there's a lot coverage maximum. So if you want to take a photo of this slide, now would be the right time, but I summarized it for you, and these are the 6 things that you need to know. But my point is, from this moment on, every property that you get, you should be able, fairly simply, calculate the GFA that you should be able to get as of right on a major street. I do want to touch where Evan here butchered this model in his presentation. I have clients, existing clients. One of them is here, Tim. Tim, am I going to embarrass you? But anyway, I do want to talk about the 10 units because it's a model that I have active clients pursuing. 10 units over 6 stories, rental. So Evan, when he butchered it, it was condo. And the other thing that I know that works really well is because we were able, yes, okay. This is the typical floor plan. And what you see is that we are able to achieve 2 3-bedroom units per floor. And that is something that I hear from my clients was crucial for their pro forma. So it's not 2-bedroom or those really small units. These are 10 3-bedrooms that in a rental pro forma with the GST removal works well, and it works, and for the grandchildren as well. So, and I do want to say, I want to say something really, really important, which is related to Daniel's presentation. If you, on June 12th, City Council Planning and Housing are going to vote for sixplex. This floor plan on 3 stories could work potentially for sixplex, keep it under Part 9 of the building code, so it's easier, simpler construction method. But I want to take a moment to say one thing about Daniel's presentation. On June 12th, there are going to be a very, very long line of NIMBYs coming to oppose the approval of sixplex. It's going to be like any other, IMBY, like me, versus the NIMBY. But I think that everyone here in this room should come in person to the Planning and Housing Committee on June 12th, because showing council that this is economic development, okay, which is what this room is all about. There's an economic development standing behind approving these policies, okay? So it's not going to be NIMBY versus IMBY. It's going to be you telling council and councillors, if you are, once you allow these policies, you open up small businesses that otherwise didn't have the opportunities to advance, employ people, and advance our economy. So, if on June 13th it is not approved, it's on you. It's also my birthday, so consider it my birthday gift, okay? Next, I want to talk about parking. just take a photo of this slide. But basically, what I see the problem with parking is that, yes, the city, there's no longer residential parking minimums, but there is still accessible and visitor parking. So as Evan said, they didn't have, he didn't have any project without community of adjustment. I think, unfortunately, that even when major streets is as of right, I will still find myself going to community of adjustment for almost each and every one because of parking ratio. So it is, I don't want you to think that you can have absolutely zero, because there are still requirements. And parking, I would say, I was talking to one of you already, corner lots or ones with laneway access in the back will solve you a lot of problems, okay? Just because of parking. Chris, do I have time? Yeah, okay. So fairly quickly, development, the development process. So if it's going to be the under 10 units, what I talked about, it's going to be, and I think that it's an amazing potential, because with major streets and the site plan exemption for any building up to 10 units, you will be basically able to get, your first step will be a building permit, which is incredible. I've been living in Toronto for almost 12 years. I never had an as-of-right project, okay? So the fact that you could have 10 units as of right, submitting for a building permit as your first step, it's incredible. No politics, no community engagement, no committee of adjustment, just go and build it, and that is pretty amazing. There are, for the site plan exemptions, it's basically only if you are, not if you are 300 meters from a railway, if you require road widening, and if you are closer to wetlands in less than 120 meters. Okay, so there are 3 exemptions for the exemptions from site plan, but basically anything in the city, it's actually in the province. Up to 10 units, you are exempt from site plan. Oh, I see what happened, sorry. Okay, so I think, yeah, okay, so what I did, when I found out that I only have 15 minutes, okay, I realized that I won't be able to present my full deck. So there are few parts that I kept into a part 2 that you can access on my website, which is the development approval process for major streets. I also gave you one example of how I calculate density step by step, okay? And a bonus map of, oh, I didn't have it here, but it's basically a tool that, it's a tool. It's a PDF with all the major streets, so you can just start, Control F and start typing the street that your property is on, and then you will see if it's on a major streets or not, okay? So blame Chris for that. Ask him that next year I will get 30 minutes, and you can access the rest of my presentation. I don't know how I'm for time, but yeah, Q&A. Okay, let's do Q&A. Thank you. Yes.
All right, we do have 30 minutes, but we're going to do like a dedicated Q&A with you, because this is such a big topic. So I'll ask a few starting questions, and then once again, if you could line up in the middle aisle here if you have a question, and we'll get a mic out there. All right, so first question for me as I listen to your presentation is, there's some calculation obviously as to when it is worth taking on site plan control for a major streets building. Like, probably you don't want to do it to get an 11th or 12th unit, but
not even 20 or 30 in my
opinion. Yeah, so what's your opinion on like what the threshold is before you do want to take on the additional cost and time?
So first of all, let's talk about the consequences of site plan, okay? First of all, it's a process that takes at least a year. Okay, because site plan is a process that you take your application and you circulate it among all the different departments in the city. So transportation, urban design, waste management, Canada Post, like weird departments.
Noise and vibration.
Yes, yes, yes. And then what happens is the magic of getting conflicted comments between urban design and transportation, for example. So then you have these endless, and I had a fairly simple project with like 6 rounds of site plan because it goes back, right? Like, what's your number? I don't know. But so I want you to understand what it means to say yes to site plan or not. So it's a process that takes at least a year. And the other thing that it triggers all the consultants, right? Because if you're able to take a building to a building permit, so you only need the consultant, like, the architect, the engineer, you don't need transportation and waste management consultant. Once you do site plan, you get a beautiful checklist from the city, and then are asking you for, all the noise and vibration studies. So, and we are talking about what would be the average, like, like at 300,000, like would be like a north, right? I want you to first understand what it means. From this moment on, you will be doing your own math when it's worth it or not. For sure, not on the 11th unit or 12. I personally don't think that even this 20 for sure is not. Because also when you're getting into the 20 units, you need growing up. Yep. So that adds to the, okay, should I stop at 19? And I think that 19 to 10 is not good enough. Another thing that, everyone will have their own answer, but every time you're reaching another number, like those magic numbers in planning, the 10, the 20, the 30, the 60, you're adding to your luggage of constraints.
Yeah, we find there's a dead zone, like at 5 and 6 units, you're paying DCs, so you don't want to do that unless you're doing them in sequence, as we talked about. On site plan, you don't want to do probably 10 to 20, maybe 10 to 30, because then you're kicking in these new requirements. Type G loading, again, city-sized garbage, you probably don't want to do like 65 units, you have to kick to 80. So there are all these dead zones in the number of units you want to build because they trigger new requirements. So that's a great answer. Do we have any questions from the audience on major streets policy specifically? And if not, I've got a couple more of my own.
I will say one more thing about DCs, and maybe if you have questions, you can line up. But Evan covered like how the DCs, you will need 10 of them. I did have a friendly conversation. I am recorded right now, so I will be very careful with what I say. But I had a friendly conversation with the chief planner, and I said that what I am personally afraid of, that if we don't do exempt six units, any first 6 units, even if you build a 400-unit building, first 6 units should be exempt from development charges. Because what I'm afraid of is just because of what Evan showed, we're just going to end up with 4plexes on major streets, not the 60. And I told that to the chief planner, and I said, like, this is what you should probably be doing. Now, I did hear some rumors that they are going to exempt the 6plex from development charges, but and I'm quoting Chris, when they did it for the 4plexes, what a great way to kill a 5plex. So in this, what a great way to kill a 7plex, right?
Yeah, we know that this idea is not new in public policy design. So when we tax income, let's say the first 18,000 or whatever the number is exempt. On the 19th out there, 18,000 and first, we don't tax every dollar, we just tax the marginal dollar.
Yeah.
And there are reasons why we do that, and I think urban planning should learn this lesson from every other domain of public policy. Okay, more questions from me. So the province has indicated in their most recent bill, Bill 17, that they would work with municipalities or nudge or force municipalities to reduce how burdensome these approvals processes are, including presumably SPA. Not a ton of detail. Is there anything that you kind of anticipate or that you would recommend that even if we kick into site plan control and approval, we probably don't need, I don't know, noise and vibration studies or energy strategy reports or something?
Well, my wish list, unfortunately, is long. Like, right. There are many things that we could do. Even, Evan said, why not let staff approve things? Like, committee of adjustment, at the end of the day, is a political forum, okay? They are very much affected by community members. Yeah. Our housing process is way too political. Like, if we want to do something to solve the housing crisis, to make it less political. So everything under the approval process, Conrad is here going to talk about single stair. There are many things that we should do. Unfortunately, and Councillor Bradford was here in the morning, I feel like Toronto is playing it hard to get, and we don't really want to, like, I can't land on any other conclusion, but we don't really want to solve the housing crisis. Not really, because if we really wanted to, there are so many things, but politically, we are so far we are in this housing crisis because of politics.
Because of policy. Yeah, it's a policy choice. So we'll keep pushing with this event, with this community. Thanks once again for joining us.
Much.
If anybody needs help with Major Streets planning, please give Naama a call.